Please stop attempting to open your throat while singing the ah vowel. It's causing so many more issues than you even know, especially when it comes to singing. But Lauren, when I sing with the forward placement, it sounds super pinched and nasally. Not to mention, it's really hard to sing ah with the forward resonance. Look, I know there's always aesthetic goals when it comes to singing, so if you stay through the end of the video, I will show you how to sing ah in a way that makes the most sense with forward placement and doesn't inhibit the sound too much to the point where it sounds weird. Hi, my name is Lauren. If you like what you see in this video and what you hear, I do teach online voice lessons, which you can sign up for using the link below. Signups do fill up quickly, so please be sure to do that as soon as you can. If you've ever taken voice lessons or choir before, odds are you've probably been told to open your throat and your mouth as wide as you can when it comes to singing the vowel ah. The problem with doing this is that it's dampening the larynx. In the last video I uploaded, we talked extensively about the importance of singing with a forward resonance and vowel placement. So before continuing with this video, if you haven't yet watched that one, please watch that one first. It explains the whole methodology behind forward vowel placement, and it will kind of catch you up on what we're going to do today. So in the last video, we talked about E, A, and U, and today we're going to talk about Ah. In going back and looking at How to Sing by Lily Lehman, she talks extensively about Ah. The ordinary Ah, as practically pronounced by every layman, and so often demanded by many teachers of their pupils, is an absurdity, as the tongue is usually pressed down not only by false habit, but often pressed down artificially with instruments. This leads to flat, ordinary, defective singing, if not often the ruin of voice itself. Example, you want to begin from pronouncing ye, the Y. So Lily Lehman also often refers to ah as, quote, the root of all evil. And she even suggests to scrap the whole idea when it comes to the first fundamental development of a student's singing, at least until all other foundations have been prepared. Now, going further into the text, we learn that Lily doesn't necessarily disagree that ah can be used as a wonderful vowel to find the perfect resonance and placement. She says, there is much discussion as to whether ah, oo, or some other vowel is the best adapted for general practice. In former times, practice was entirely on the vowel sound ah. The old Italians taught it, my mother was trained so, and never allowed her pupils to use any other vowel during the first months of their instruction. Later, to be sure, every letter, every word was practiced and improved continually, till it was correct, and had impressed itself upon the memory as well as the ear of the pupil for all time. That being said, we need to approach ah very carefully. Lehman continues. Most people who are not accustomed to using their vocal resonance pronounce the ah quite flat, as if it were the vowel sound lying the lowest, or in the back of the mouth. It is pronounced with the position of the mouth belonging to the bright vowels. It has to seek its resonance, in speaking as well as in singing, in the same place as the dark vowels on the high arched palate. To permit this, it must be mingled with oo. The furrows in the tongue must also be formed, just as with oo and o. Only special attention must be given that the back of the tongue does not fall, but remains high, as in pronouncing a. This is really important. In this way, ah comes to lie between oo, which we'll get to later, and forms at the same time the connection between the bright and the dark vowels and the reverse. She goes on and on, so we're going to continue kind of reading this together. For this reason, it was proper that ah should be preferred as the practice vowel as soon as it was placed properly between two extremes. So again, she says this is why ah works so well. It's because it properly is placed between two extremes, and it will satisfy all demands of the voice. She goes on to say, I like to teach it because its use makes all mistakes most clearly recognizable, so you can hear when you're doing something wrong the best on an ah vowel. It is the most difficult vowel. If it is well pronounced or sung, it produces the necessary muscular contractions with the pleasing expression of the mouth and makes certain a fine tone color by its connection with oo and o. If the ah is equally well formed in all ranges of the voice, a chief difficulty is mastered. So again, she's acknowledging that ah is not always a natural place for most people, and that it can naturally be placed very far in the back of the throat. I said before that American English is some of the most throatiest speaking that there is in the world. And so ah tends to be in the back of the throat. You can actually feel your tongue tense up, ah, in the back of the throat. At least for me, I do. But she understands that if you can master it, it's really, really nice and good for the voice. It forces you to pay attention to the moments where maybe your voice isn't the best, but you have to make sure that you are pronouncing it the right way. So how do we pronounce ah? Now, this is under the context that we already know how to sing e, a, and oo. If you feel like you're not sure if you're doing it right, go back to the other video because we're kind of gonna just speed run them today and then we're gonna go into the ah formation. So, like I said before, the 3 points of the tongue have to be, right? The tip of the tongue is behind the bottom teeth and then the sides of the tongue are up by the top teeth. So they have to be here for every single vowel. That's going to be like one trick to know if you're doing it right. The other thing that's going to really help the placement of ah is making sure we're doing it with a slight smile, right? So there's a difference between ah and there's a difference between ah. Do you hear the difference? The second one is more forward, more bright, okay? And in my studio, we like bright sounds. So we're going to continue with this. Just got overexposed there for a second. Okay, so let's start with E again, right? Keeping the 3 points of the tongue, finding the wasabi resonance, the nasal wall buzz. We're gonna do E. Add a nice smile to it. If you notice, when you smile, your tongue naturally sits forward. So we'll try and keep that there. Let's do it. Ready, and E. E, E, E. My piano is malfunctioning right now, so if it cuts out, I'm just gonna keep singing and you just keep following me. Now, the next one we're going to do is A. We're going to alternate between E and A, remembering that the distance between the two is very minimal. We're not going E-yeah, we're going E-yeah. The jaw barely moves, the tongue spreads wide, and the resonance is still very far forward. So we have E-yeah-E-yeah-E, E-yeah-E-yeah-E. Okay, and we're going to do E-yeah-E-yeah-E. Again, smiling because it helps keep the tongue naturally forward. Okay, let's try it. Ready, and So again, the distance between the two is very minimal. We want to keep this idea when it comes to moving to ah. So we're going to do an exercise that will blend all of these together, E, A, and ah. And again, everything is connected by a Y. So it's going to be almost like ye, ye, ya, if that makes sense. Keeping a smile, right? Check in the mirror if you're smiling, because a lot of times you think you're smiling, you're actually not. So keep a smile, check in the mirror, okay? And we're gonna go ye, ye, ya. Again, we're not moving the jaw all that much. We're not going yee, yay, ya. No. Yee, yay, ya. Yeah. Yeah. It's very Italian right? They don't say aw like we do. They say This is the idea that we want to go with. Even though we might not be always singing songs in Italian, it doesn't matter. We want to study the Italian style of singing because the Italians know what's up. Yeah, 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 yeah. Again, if you feel like you need space, you need to make the space horizontal. Yeah, 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 yeah. Instead of ya. Okay, let's try it. Ready, and yeah, yeah, yeah. Find the wasabi resonance through the face. Yeah, yeah. A good smile and ya. Yeah, yeah. That's happening for me even. I really want to go yaw. Okay, yeah, 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 yeah. Comes out into the room. So now we've learned how to pronounce right? In a really good forward vowel context. How do we apply this to music? So, for example, even when we see in Italian, let's say I've got some Italian viewers or I've got some opera singing viewers who sing in Italian. Even when we see an in Italian, we can't approach it like that. So, for example, I have Vanio Rosa Fortunata, I think it's by Bellini, which Cecilia Bartoli does a wonderful rendition of. Highly recommend listening to that. And again, the title even in itself has a lot of A's. Vanio Rosa Fortunata, right? A lot of A's. And we want to make sure that it's super, super forward, even if it's Italian. So we want to change the way that we think about We want to completely change it. We're not even going to think about pronouncing it as I'm almost going to think of it as vene, rose, fortunata, nata, not nata, nata, a posar de nici in petto. So, if I were to sing this super open and wide, this is what it would sound like. Rosa fortunata, posar de nici in petto. It's not horrible, but it was really hard to sing, versus if I have that super closed smile, modifying every I see to be almost e. Rosa fortunata, posar de nici in petto. That was so much easier. I could feel my tongue wanting to fight, but that was so much easier. So now, let's take that context and apply it to an American song. If I Loved You, but from Carousel, which is a great song. Weird musical, but great song. I can play the piano. And the words are, if I loved you. Time and again, I would try to say. It's a lot of ahs, right? And especially if this is an American English, we have to make sure that it's not ah. So we'd have to change it. Instead of going, if I loved you, time and again, I would try to say. So hard. Versus, if I loved you, instead of loved you, time and again, I would try to say. It's almost like almost like the Swedish Chef from the Muppets. Right? So that's kind of the idea that we want with this. So here we go. We're gonna try it super closed. If I loved you time and again, I would try to say. Already so much easier. And now let's take it out of the musical theater context. Let's say we really want to do like a rock song or a pop song. So for example, You Are the Only Exception by Paramore has a really cool bridge. It's one of my favorite bridges ever written. Okay, already the bridge, the first line is, I got a tight grip on reality, but I can't. And the way that Hayley sings it, phenomenal singer. She can sing however the fuck she wants because she's literally that good. So this is no criticism to Hayley Williams, but she sings it pretty open, right? And instead of thinking, I've got a tight grip on reality, but I can't, like, that's just too hard. It's way harder than it needs to be. We're gonna change it to, I've got a tight grip on reality, but I can't. Okay? Again, hurdy-gurdy Swedish Chef. Let's try it. I got a tight grip on reality, but I can't. So much easier. So, you can apply this to any style of singing, and it still sounds like I'm singing it the way that it's supposed to be sung. It's just a little bit more closed and out of the throat, which is the goal for everything that we want to do when we sing. It should never be in the throat, ever, 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 ever. And I've seen some comments of people like, you're stupid. That's where the voice is, but we just can't think of it there. We don't consciously interact with our voice. You literally can't feel it. There's no like conscious awareness of the voice. So it doesn't make any sense to try and micromanage it if you can't even feel it. It doesn't make any sense. So let's focus on the things that we can feel, the things that we can control, like our tongue. We can control our tongue, and we can control finding the resonance in the face. So I hope this made sense for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. I tend to answer most of them. The next video I think I'm going to make is going to be on actually taking the time to go through a piece of music. By the way, you pick the song. We can look at whatever song you want, and maybe I'll pick up to 3. So comment down below a song that you would want me to rewrite in a way that makes it easier to sing. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.